You're good.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call this meeting of the Durham Board of Selectmen to order on October 13th, 2020. And select board members, as we've been doing with the Zoom format, I will call the roll. So please say something to indicate you're here when I call your name. Rich George.
Here.
Todd Bollier.
Here.
Mark Farren.
Here.
And I'm Kevin Netto. I'm here. Rob Ponto is excused this evening. But we need 3 for quorum and we have 4, so we are all set there. Any amendments to the agenda from board members or administrators? Nope. Yeah, okay. So we have the public comment time on the agenda. Is there anybody here that is wants to make any public comments on any matters related to the town? Not seeing any. So, okay, we will move on from that. All right, public hearing for general assistance ordinance. This one, we were actually supposed to do this at our last meeting and I completely overlooked it. So we need to deal with it in this meeting. And so I'm going to, well, first, this is annually, we need to adopt, the selectmen need to adopt the general assistance ordinance with the, and then the annual appendices, which set the maximum limits for general assistance to be provided by the town for various categories, you know, like food and rent and heating oil assistance and things of that sort. We get reimbursed by the state for 70% of, you know, their recommended amount. And we've had over the last several years, and really as long as we can remember, we've had very little need or call for this funding. So, which is great. And, you know, so we've typically adopted the state maximums every year, but we do have to vote on that. So I will open the public comment and hearing period for anybody that has comments on the general assistance maximum limits that we need to vote on tonight. Is there anybody here to speak on that? Nope. Okay, then I will close the public hearing on that, and I will move that we adopt the local general assistance ordinance and the 2021 general assistance appendices A through H for the Lewiston Auburn MSA as posted.
Second it.
I have a Todd second from Todd on that. Any discussion? Okay, when I call your name, please indicate your vote. Yay or nay? Rich George?
Yes.
Todd Bollier?
Yes.
Mark Farren?
Yes.
And Kevin Netto was also a yes. Okay. So we all need, I believe we all need to go in and sign that form. Is that right, Ruth? That's one of the things we all need to go in and sign?
Yes, you will.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, action and discussion items, 5A, approval of the Emerson consent agreement. Bob, you just want to give a quick overview of what this is about?
Yeah, I went over to do inspections this year and Zach was, he wouldn't be able to do it. He went on vacation and I talked to him about, you know, do you still want to run the junkyard? He said, no, I don't. I just need time to close. So I said, why don't you just go into a consent agreement? And he said, fine.
Yeah.
And I asked him a time frame and we talked about May. And May 1st seems like a better time than starting to stretch it out into the summer. So the only question I have is who, do you folks sign it first before I give him the letter, or do I give him the letter and let him and his attorney sign it and then have you folks sign it? If you agree to it.
What does Jack say? I would defer to the town attorney on how that, whatever process should be in place there. So But I did have a question though. I don't know if you saw I said it was pretty late. I sent the email this afternoon. That agreement says that the junkyard will be quote unquote cleaned up by May 1st, but nowhere in the agreement does it define what cleaned up means. So what are we using for a criteria for you, or when you go and you say, yes, that's cleaned up, or no, that's not cleaned up, what's the criteria for that?
Well, I'm gonna compare it to Peeler's, and Peeler's is totally cleaned up. There's nothing left. But that's just my opinion. I guess I can have Jack add to that all cars, drums, tires, and junk must be cleaned up.
Well, there's nothing in state law or anything that would, because wouldn't it need to be, basically there can't be anything left that would cause it to be considered a junkyard anymore, right?
That's right. And even once they close, I know this from Peeler's, if they ever sell that property, they have to disclose that it was a junkyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like, the criteria is that you're going to look at the property and there can't be anything there that would cause it to be classified as a junkyard.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Rich?
Yeah, just in regards to once they do clean up and it's quote unquote officially no longer a junkyard, when junkyards close, are they required to take care of any environmental issues ground-wise, or is it just a blanketed clean the property up and make sure it's not visible?
I haven't read anything where they're required to test the ground. In the state statute, it just talks about a junkyard. It doesn't talk about a cleanup.
Okay.
So I guess I'd have to do a little more digging for that. I know the disclosure that Peeler's sister, who was taken over that, she explained to me that they have to disclose it, and I believe she still holds the pollution insurance for it.
Okay.
And it would be in the registry of deeds that the property used to be a junkyard, wouldn't it? Somehow?
I don't know. These are questions I'll have to ask Jack.
I don't know if it would be, Kevin, unless, somebody had a home business for say, it doesn't necessarily register it as a specific entity. Even a commercial property doesn't necessarily, unless it's a gas station, doesn't necessarily say what it is. That's why I was asking about the environmentals.
Yeah.
It's just a property of a deed.
Yeah.
That is a good question, though. What do they do to prove that they didn't contaminate anything?
And are they legally obligated to?
Yeah.
They may not be legally obligated to.
Correct.
All right, I will shoot that by Jack.
Yeah.
To see if he needs to modify the consent agreement. I know Peeler's had nothing in his about testing.
Yeah, let's save that discussion because I have some questions about that one too. That one's next on the agenda, but yeah, I mean, I think we can. There's no rush to do this right now, right? We can get some of these questions answered and relook at it at our next meeting. Yeah. So I think what we're looking for is kind of clarification on, okay, maybe it's visually cleaned up, but what if any, responsibility or liability does the property owner retain for potential contamination of soil and or groundwater or other environmental concerns? So.
All right, is that it for questions for Jack?
Well, then you had a question about kind of order of like who signs first,
Yeah, which who gets what first?
Yep.
All right.
So just have him kind of map that out, and then let's maybe document that as a standard process or something.
Rich? And just to confirm that whoever we're making this agreement with has actually been deeded that property.
Right, that's a good point. Make sure that they actually own it.
Correct.
This one is both the siblings of Larry. It's
So you would
Zach.
need both their consents, I guess, to that cleanup.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, her name is also on it.
Yep. So, yeah, good call, Rich. Okay, so we'll look at that one again next meeting. And so the next one is the Peeler release, and I'm not really sure why we're signing a release. What is this about?
A release, I believe.
Hold on, this came from their lawyers, is that right? This isn't something we're asking for. This is something they're asking for?
I haven't seen anything like that, so I don't know.
It's from Jack.
It's
It
from
is?
Jack. All right.
So Ruth, do you know the backstory here? What is the purpose of this document?
Oh,
Yes.
I don't know much of the backstory because I didn't, yeah.
Because
I think it's just stating that it has been inspected and it has been cleaned up. I think that's what it is, but I can ask Jack that.
yeah, and if that's the case, why can't you just write a letter like you would other code enforcement things and say, hey, I've inspected the property, pursuant to our agreement, and you've passed. Because what I don't like about this agreement, quite honestly, is where it says
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen it?
No, I don't think I've seen the release.
Well, then this shouldn't even be on the agenda. So let's figure out what this is about. I don't see the need for the town to sign this. I'm a little concerned about signing it, quite honestly, because of, and you can ask Jack about this, but the phrase here that says, the inhabitants of the town of Durham release, acquit, forever discharge, and agree to hold harmless John Peeler from all liability or obligation of any kind, whether in tort, contract, or otherwise, for injuries and or damages arising out of a certain zoning enforcement action taken by the said town. What I want to make sure that doesn't do is, as we were talking with the previous property, if there have been some ground contamination issues there
Yeah.
that aren't apparent right now, I don't want to be signing something that's absolving them of all responsibility. Yeah, Rich?
Well, the attorney that signed this, this to me looks like something written by the property owner's attorney and forwarded by Zach, which is looking for us to release his liability to the town. This doesn't look like something that was generated by Jack.
That's what I thought too.
So who got a copy of that?
I have a copy.
Who did it, and it came from Jack Conway?
Yeah, they sent it to me. It does look, Rich, like you say, it looks like they are the ones that did it and then forwarded it to Jack, and then Jack forwarded it to us.
Yeah, they're looking for, I get what their attorney's trying to do, but they're looking for us to absolve their liability of whatever may have happened over there. And we're not in a position to do that. I don't know why we would ever do that.
I don't want to do that. We don't have any enforcement action against them right now, do we?
Nope.
Have you acknowledged in writing with a letter to him in any way that that he, as far as the junkyard and the visible cleanup, that what he's done is satisfactory, and that no additional enforcement on that issue will be taken?
No, he walked the property with me. He was there when I went to look at it. So I gave him a verbal that it looks fine. That's all I said. It's
Okay.
everything's clean.
Do you have that documented in your notes somewhere?
I don't believe so. I do have the date I went over.
Okay. So, yeah, anything like that should be documented. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. When you talk to Jack about the previous topic, ask him about this, and
Yep.
because I'm with Rich. I'm like, I think we're under no, I have no interest in the town signing this. I don't think there's any need for us to sign this. So
Unless it was tested.
even if it was tested, I mean, why would we sign? We have no reason to sign this.
All right.
Okay. Committee for the Union Church. Ruth, do you want to speak about this one?
Well, Candy's been in a couple of times to talk to me, and I know that she's talked to Todd, and maybe he can chime in here too. There had been a time not too long ago when you guys had discussed the idea of creating a committee of different stakeholders who would oversee the renovation and/or upkeep of the Union Church. And she's wondering if this is a good time to start that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why not. I think, yeah, I mean, what do other guys think? Is there a reason we wouldn't want to do that at this point? No, I mean, I think we, we probably want to, go ahead, Rich, were you going to say something?
I'd like to define the word renovation, because that could be a full renovation. Is that, I mean, are we just talking upkeep? Or we talk like we have been kind of doing? Or I think that needs to be established before we can go in a direction of, and I think the town needs to establish, not more so than this board.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's just what I was going to say was something very similar, was that, like we've done for other committees, Ruth, we should kind of draft up, a little charter or whatever for the committee on, what the role is and what the expectations are. I mean, I like the way you worded it, in that it's not just about a massive renovation. It's also about just day-to-day upkeep, like stuff that Todd has brought to our attention a couple of times, like, oh, the steps need this, or a window is out, or whatever. A committee I would envision it as a committee to oversee, everyday maintenance, stuff like that, but that also to maybe start working on a plan for, a larger renovation effort, and to include how they intend to raise funds for it.
Yeah, it's more of a reservation and preservation committee.
Yeah. I mean, it's a committee charged with kind of overseeing that building, both in terms of regular maintenance and any potential, bringing to the board potential long-term projects. But,
Okay, you want me to write that up and bring you back next meeting?
yeah, Todd, what do you think? You're closest to this,
Yeah, I think it's trying to preserve it
Yeah.
more than anything else. Full renovation, we don't have the money to do that. But preserving
right.
it, we do.
Well, part of it too might be a direction of, what will the building be used for in the future?
Yeah.
Well, but the town would actually have to vote to change the purpose, right? Because didn't the town vote to essentially let the historic district, historic society, kind of be the tenant of that building?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, if they see they have some new purpose that they that they want to bring up, and then maybe we bring to voters, then yeah, of course, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Ruth, that'd be great if you could draft something up for the next meeting, and we'll discuss that. So, LRAP certification. What I know it went down, but what do we need to talk about there?
So the certification that I sent you, basically every year you have to certify to the state that you spent the funds in the manner in which we're supposed to spend the funds,
Okay.
which we do every year. But you guys have to approve the certification.
So moved.
Okay, Rich has moved that we approve the LRAP certification. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Mark seconds. Any discussion on that? Calvin, we used it for what we were supposed to, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Just checking. Want to get you on record.
Good idea.
Yeah. All right. So if you're in favor of the LRAP certification, or not, just state your vote when I call your name. Rich George,
Yes.
Todd Bollier,
Yes.
Mark Farren,
Yes.
and Kevin Nettles also in favor. Okay. All right. CIP discussion. Where do we start? So really the role of the board here at this stage is to have reviewed the materials that Ruth provided and make amendments if necessary, maybe to some of the schedules for things to be considered or not considered by the CIP committee in their kind of longer range planning. And then essentially it gets handed off to the CIP committee for much more detailed work and ultimately a ranking and a recommendation. So, anybody, and Chief, I'm going to start with, go to you real quick. I think in one of Ruth's emails or her report, she indicated that there were going to be some changes to what the fire department was looking to do.
Yeah, in discussing this with the Chiefs group and considering, honestly, where I think everybody anticipates finances to be in the next couple of years, I really think that we need to look again at our overall apparatus layout and where we have those things, where we have those placed. I don't think replacing, I don't think putting any, I won't say putting any money away, but replacing anything in the next 2 to 3 years is going to be achievable just simply through the town's finances. I don't think it's realistic. It brings me back around again to the thought process and the discussion of, of having an evaluation of the department, of the apparatus done. We had this discussion last year through the CIP committee. It didn't get ranked well. Looking forward, once again, considering the finances of the town, the structure of the department, we do need to invest some money in a significant evaluation of where we're at and where we're going. We're talking apparatus alone. The costs are huge to the town, and I think that without a real in-depth review of it, it's just sort of guesswork. And I'd rather not do that with the town's money and my own as well as a resident.
Yeah.
And looking at it from the perspective of an example being the town manager position, investing the $8,000 to do that process right. It's kind of the same way that I view this. It's $13,000 is a chunk of money, but in the long run, I believe it saves us if we're not replacing things that we don't need to when we don't need to.
Yep. So I think last time we talked about that, kind of if I remember right, the conversation was kind of steering towards, I think there was a consensus that some sort of, evaluation or review should be done, but maybe not necessarily the one vendor that you had brought forward, that there might be other possibilities out there. So this feels like something that we should be preparing an RFP for.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
I would, yes.
Yeah. So, and so if you want to start on that, and then we can review at a future meeting, I think that would be a good place to start.
I'll have it ready for the next meeting.
Any other board members, want to comment on that, or? So, okay. Let's see. So I'm gonna kind of sticking with the fire department for now, since we started with the chief, and looking at the and I know he said he's already thinking that things need to change. We need an evaluation. So given that, I think we should take, because one of the things the CIP committee kind of asked for last year is that they're going to look at what's on these schedules, and when they start trying to plan reserves and how much to ask for and things like that, that they want the schedule to be as realistic as possible. So in my mind, I'm just going to throw it out there that there are a couple of things with regard to the fire department schedule. And right now I'm looking at the, in fact, I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so are you seeing, this is the combined schedule on the Excel document that Ruth sent out a week or two ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm thinking we should take the Quint off completely, and because it looks like it's being proposed is to buy another used one.
Looking back, that was the original plan.
That's a used one at $530,000.
Yes.
Yeah, new one of these things you're looking at like probably $1 million.
A brand new one of quality is going to be 1.1 to 1.2.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, and this is kind of I mean, we all know, to call a spade here, that whole piece of apparatus is a little bit of a touchy subject for a lot of people anyway. And I think there's not a lot of enthusiasm outside the maybe portions of the fire department to replace that thing when the time comes. So I think we should at least take it off for now, and with the chief's comments especially. And go ahead, Chief.
I would like to at least move it to 2025 until we've had this evaluation done, because once again, my intent with this evaluation is not just the condition of the current apparatus, but what does the town really need?
Yep.
That's my big focus on this evaluation, is what do we need?
Would you agree then? Would you agree then to move that renovation to 2025 until you know what the town needs?
Oh, I'm going to get to that one next.
Okay, I figured you beat me to it.
Yeah, no, but I agree. So how about, Chief, just to keep the next 5 years clean, because the CIP is kind of looking 5 years out. How about we move it to 2026?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. And that way you keep it on the docket, but we kind of clear the 5 year horizon that they're going to be looking at.
Okay.
It's not to say it couldn't come back on
I understand that.
Determined. And on the renovation of the modular, I'm kind of surprised to see that on there, quite honestly, because I think we've been pretty clear that we're not interested in renovating the modular to have any sort of overnight accommodations for the fire department. And in fact, that's not actually a fire department building. That's a municipal building, and it should be on the municipal schedule. I mean, we have talked informally about other things like that might be better put to use if it was moved over to the town office property and be some sort of an expansion to the town office, which is running into some serious space constraints that Ruth will probably talk about a little bit later. But so what?
Well, that's actually part of a recommendation. It's actually part of a recommendation that I'm developing to actually have Bob moved over here. Bob and I work a lot together. I see us probably working a lot in the future together. And actually, the original purposing of that building, I have the documentation from 2010 when it was sought after over the Boosters Club in town. It was for the fire department. It was for the potential of developing overnight staffing and accommodations. And truthfully, looking at my staffing and my ability as we move forward, nighttime is a big problem for us.
Yeah. Well, I think at a minimum we move it out and have that be, imagine that need or would be part of the assessment work.
Yep, it would be.
That would happen. But I, you know, and so I know. So I guess why don't we move that one out to 2026 as well, just to keep the next 5 years clear until we have an assessment and an actual need, because I think I can't remember if there's something else coming up. Like, it's tough to ask the town to spend or save or set aside money if there's not really a fairly solid plan on what it's for. So,
Okay.
okay.
So I guess I need to ask the question right now, because once again, as I look around the station and I look around the way things have been managed here on this property, I'm trying to still do a lot of cleanup and a lot of, improved utilization of the space. So is it the board's position that I should not be doing anything with the modular?
When you say not doing anything beyond its current, I don't think we should be investing any money in it beyond maintaining it for its current purpose. This would be how I would put it. I don't know how other board members feel.
What was the 58,000 for? Is that to like renovate it, make it a living space?
That was totally spitballing for desks, probably putting a new carpet out there because that one's pretty well trashed on both sides, just between age and the mice and everything else. But just getting it cleaned up and useful for office space, storage space. Once again, I think it's a good idea to bring Bob over there. I had also spoken with the sheriff's office if they would have any interest in having access to it for a place for their officers to come and sit, do a report. It improves their presence in town.
Those might be great ideas, Chief, but they feel like things that really should be a discussion with the board prior to actually moving down the road on any of them. I mean, the code enforcement officer is a town employee, and any conversation about moving him out of the town office building is, I mean, I think, you're absolutely free to make that recommendation, but to do anything beyond that, to actually start planning for it seems a little bit premature to me.
Okay.
Like I said, open to the discussion, but I think we need to have the discussion first. And we had talked about, actually, right before the COVID storm hit, we were talking about having like kind of a workshop meeting to talk about a lot of these things with the fire department and, what is the future vision and what is the board feeling and then if we have this assessment and then, it's probably the type of thing where even some public hearings about the level of service the town wants, like with regard to, probably EMS especially, what they're willing to pay for and what they're interested for a level of service. So I think there's a lot of discussions to be had there. Okay. Anybody else have any other comments on the fire department? We'll kind of, before we move on. I had one question. What's the repeater? That's a facility? What is that?
That's the radio repeater that's at the top of at the tower here at the station.
Why is that a facility and not just a piece of capital equipment?
That's a
I
good
put it
question.
in there because it was insured under the facilities, but I think you're probably right. It's not really a facility.
Okay, so it would be like other equipment for the fire station, right? So why don't we put that on the fire station's schedule? There's no money there anyway, but in terms of when we do need to put money aside for it, it could be on the fire station schedule, kind of like the furnace, right?
Well, yeah, but I think it's more of isn't it more of an equipment? I mean, that repeater is used for a lot of things, is it not, Chief? It's used for the county. It's used for.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It was primarily put in as a repeater for our channel, but it is used countywide.
But do we bear sole responsibility for cost, maintenance, and upkeep?
That I honestly couldn't answer. I would have to find that out for you.
Okay.
When we granted access recently to that repeater, there's something that transpired. And please refresh my memory, Joe. Was there anything in regards there with a shared maintenance or anything on that, in that agreement?
No, they covered all the costs for that.
They cover the cost, and then they would cover the cost for any replacement of the equipment in the future, correct? We are just providing the structure for them to house their equipment, really, is all it really boils down to, right?
That is my understanding, but I would rather double check that than say 100% yes. or
Yeah,
no.
if we could look into that and then just get back to us, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I couldn't
And
remember
these-
everything it said either.
Right, and the other thing that does need to be discussed that's not on this list at the moment is air packs, because we did not get the grant, and so that's going to have to be an adjustment as well.
Those need to get added on.
Yep, I'll be
Okay.
working on that figure this week.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Okay. Let's see. Public Works. So Calvin, it looks like you're looking for, you want to buy that 1.5 ton dump truck this year.
Yep.
So you're gonna send that through CIP, okay? The one thing I wanted to call out on the Public Works schedule is I think we should zero out this line about the underspent operating funds. I think, because I know we still plan to ask the town to consolidate, to basically stop that practice of putting unspent operational funds into reserve accounts, and so that it's something that voters should vote on. So the fire department has taken it out, and so I want to. I think if you need that 50,000, then you go ahead and make the funds raised, make that line 150 instead of 100. But because even if we continue the practice for another year or two, we shouldn't necessarily count on any money being there, right? So
And there's no guarantee it's going to be there. So, I mean, it could be.
right. So that's what I'm saying. So let's not make it part of a plan.
Right.
So that's kind of why we want to stop that automated process, so that we can actually have a plan you can count on, and not trying to guess, how much money is going to be left over at the end of the year as part of the deal. Let's see. Oh, I had a question on your Public Works replacement schedule.
Mhm.
Why do the large dump trucks have a life expectancy of 12 years, but the smaller pickup trucks only 10?
Initially, I thought everything was going to be 10, but we, through discussions, have pushed the big ones out to 12, and I think 10 years is on the smaller trucks, especially the way we've been using them, is we've been just really overtaxing them with the amount of plowing they're doing. And I think 10 years is more appropriate for the smaller trucks. They're not built nearly as rugged as the bigger ones.
But you're using them for plowing?
We're using excessive plowing, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's just a question.
I mean, if we added that 550 and that other truck, maybe we could move those to 12 years because they won't be working nearly as hard.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I think that's about all. Oh, I had one question, Ruth, on Eureka, and this might be. Where am I here?
Keep going right.
Ah, there we go. So the wouldn't this be in the why wouldn't we just put this in municipal building account? Or
Well,
Oh, because we're doing a separate sheet for each facility. Okay. All
yes,
right.
there's a separate sheet for each facility, so you can
Yep.
plan each facility, but then they're all brought together in the combined schedule.
Yep. Thank you. It dawned on me as I was saying it out loud. Thanks.
Okay.
Um,
I had a question pertaining to that.
yeah, Rich.
Twofold question. One, it says refloor with wood flooring versus right now, I believe there's a VCT flooring in there.
Yes.
Why would you switch to a wood flooring in that structure?
Because I think it would look prettier, but if you guys wanted to go with vinyl again, that would be fine too.
Well, I mean, what's wrong with the vinyl floor? I mean, typically VCT, unless if there's something wrong with a tile or something, you could pop it with a torch, put a new piece. It's just white. I mean, what it really needs is just a buff and wax, and it'll look brand new.
Well,
I'm
some
just
of the
curious as to
tiles-
what's the.
Some of the tiles have, so when it was installed, I don't think that whoever did it did the adhesive correctly. And over the years, the tiles have been popping out. And if you
Yeah.
look at some of the tiles, they crack on the edges.
Yeah,
So
and
they're
that's
not-
common. That's common in VCT.
Okay,
I have a lot of them, especially VCT that's on wood structure. A lot of times
Okay.
VCT is used on concrete. So, I mean, typically you just would replace those tiles and all you do is heat up the adhesive and pop that tile and put a brand new one in. But my concern is you put a wood floor underneath that particular structure, which probably is not very level, not only to mention that it's not on a traditional foundation. It's a cold floor underneath it. It's just not a very good idea. I think you could make that floor look brand new again for probably a couple grand with a buff and wax and replacing a couple of the VCT tiles. So that's, I mean,
Well,
you
you
could
were-
probably do that now and see what it looks like and then put that on your budget for
Okay.
in the future if you want to do something. But I definitely would not put wood in that Eureka Center.
okay.
Yeah, if we're I think is in one of your letters, you mentioned that one of your ideas was to have the Eureka Center basically equipped and set up to be able to do public meetings over there. And so I'm surprised I don't really see any capital expenditures for that.
Did I put it on the combined
Oh, maybe.
and maybe not put it there?
But I think this kind of, all these things kind of fit together. It seems like, there's a workshop of some sort where, because our space challenges are all connected. Like, the fire department would like to have more space for overnight accommodation of employees possibly. And the town office needs more space, but then we've got this modular, should it stay at the fire department or go to town office? And maybe we use Eureka for meetings so that we can expand office space in the current town office. Like all those things are connected. So it kind of needs a kind of a comprehensive approach on to kind of identify, okay, what do we think our needs are over the next, probably fairly short term, 5 years, and what's the most efficient way to kind of approach that. And that might be something where we need to hire somebody to do a little work for us, and we kind of spell out what our requirements are, and they come back with a recommendation or something like that. But it's just something to keep in mind that all these things are connected and impact each other.
In the cost, I think the other thing sorry, Kev,
Yeah.
when we put cost and so forth on these Eureka centers and things of that nature, we should have like a really good ballpark of what that cost is. I don't know what that number derived from. New cost was 14,000, then annual inflation of 3% of 14.8 to do that floor. I mean,
So the number comes from looking at the square footage and then extrapolating out through some looking at square footage costs for wood flooring, although
what was the square footage in that?
I don't remember
Approximately?
offhand, frankly.
Okay. Well, it's just, okay. I kind of agree with Kevin where I think there needs to be a little bit more in-depth look at some of this stuff to overall to see what the actual use is going to be. I mean, wood flooring in public buildings is, I don't know, it's not
Not
really
good, huh?
usually a
Yeah.
good idea.
I mean, you know, that being said, I think, and I'm not sure where you have this, Ruth. I think it might be over on the combined schedule. Well, I think you have a request for what, 10,000 this year?
Yep.
And so I think it's appropriate to make the case for reserve funds in the municipal building account, for example, municipal capital account, because we don't know exactly what we're going to need to do at this point, but we're pretty sure we're going to need to do something. Whether it's with the modular or the Eureka Center or the town office or whatever it is, it would be prudent to start putting some money away in the reserve account at this point, but it's probably premature to target specific expenditures until we've done, a little bit more homework. So maybe that $10,000 figure, well, in a normal year, 21 is not going to be a normal year, but that 10,000 figure might, ideally be a little bit larger, but.
So the reason that I used the $10,000 figure actually was that is the amount of revenue approximately that we're going to lose because of the lowering interest rates this year. Last year, we brought in about $20,000 worth of interest from our bank accounts, and this year we're going to about half that probably.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else about the CIP process or these documents that, any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Kevin, I have a question. So, we want to have this discussion, and I think it's an important discussion about, the different pieces fitting in with each other. But when do you want to have that discussion?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, I don't know, anybody got any thoughts on that? I mean, the COVID environment certainly complicates that. Although I think, with board and department heads, we could be 6 feet apart at the fire station and have a meeting, but that has to be a public meeting. So we would have to, broadcast it or whatever from the fire station. And I don't know if we can do that. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I don't necessarily have a thought on when. I mean, obviously you can pick a date, and some will show and some will not show in terms of the town, but I do think there needs to be a clearer picture before you even have that conversation of the direction of these buildings in terms of where you want to go with them and what exactly the need is that we're going to, which we may not know yet, especially with the current situation, but what the actual need is and what we anticipate using the Eureka Center floor for, or what we anticipate using the module for very specifically. And that's the only way you can really truly come up with a budget, because you don't know what it's going to be. So you're really just talking hypothetical until you define something as to what direction these buildings are going to go to.
Yeah, I think, well, that's exactly what at least I had in my mind on what this initial conversation would be about. So what do you think? What do you think is the first step in doing that, Rich?
I am 100% always the guy that's against committees, but
you can be the chairman.
probably not. But I do think we just need to strategize, and it takes a collective, more of a village effort, for say, to determine like what direction are we going and what pace, at the current pace that the town has been growing in at the last 4 or 5 years, whether it's be public works or the fire department or just employees in general. What type of needs are we going to need to satisfy the growth of this town long term? And in the same token, what we need to satisfy it short term. So until we identify those needs, I don't know how you can determine that, what these buildings' uses and so forth can be.
Yeah. Part of me would like to take a short-term approach for now and kind of see what happens with the town manager issue.
That's a good point. Yeah. Let them figure it out. There's an idea. We get a
Yeah,
town manager,
exactly. That's
have
what
them
we're paying
figure it
them
out,
for.
point us in direction.
So, and whether they would, and not necessarily thinking that person would necessarily come in with all the answers, but they would be someone that should be able to lead that process. So,
Yeah, and maybe give us a good assessment of where we're at and where we need to take it to as far as, how high does the town want to scale this town to?
right.
That's the question I always ask ourselves every year on this floor. Like, we keep adding and adding layers and layers, and each layer requires, it's you need 1 gallon of paint to paint a 16-foot boat, but if you need an 18-foot boat, you might need 2 gallons, but it's only 2 feet more, but you need double the paint,
Yeah,
right? Something of that nature, whatever that old analogy is. But, things like that. I don't have a clear cut answer, and I don't, none of us really do this full time to like sit down and really think about, I think it needs a lot of thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to propose that we revisit this after the election and maybe put it on an agenda for discussion, later in November on see what we think the next steps are for some sort of assessment of town facilities. And the answer, if the town manager question passes, the answer may very well be, well, let's wait until we hire the town manager, and that'll be something we look at that point. But why don't we revisit this at our later November meeting after we have election results? So.
When does the CIP actually start meeting, Ruth? Or is it
Ruth,
first
you
part of
muted.
December?
Did we lose her?
Sorry, I had myself on mute. I was talking. Usually in November sometime they start. I think we started in the middle of November last year. Yeah, Rich, what's up?
I don't know if it's appropriate, and I don't know how this works because it's not open to the public, but somebody had asked a question if we could just briefly explain the monetary requests. Can you please explain who these monetary requests are going to? I guess they're going to us, but more importantly, they're going to the CIP committee who.
Yeah. The way it works is capital requests for the 2021 year go to the capital improvement committee, and they review the requests, and the department heads oftentimes, meet with the committee to kind of explain their requests and answer questions. And then the improvement committee ranks in order that they see as the priority the requests. And then it's up to, as part of the budget process, the select board and the budget committee each make a recommendation of kind of like, how far down the list do you think we can go in a particular year in terms of capital expenses? So those go, I hope that answers whoever had the question. But,
yeah.
Okay, so so Calvin, you're gonna take that 50,000 a year and unspent money line off. Chief, you have a couple of adjustments to make to yours. So Ruth, so do you have a timeline, Ruth? Like, are they gonna changes to you by the end of the week, and then you're gonna move it on to the CIP committee? Is that the plan?
Well, I have I'm not on mute. Okay. I have the base spreadsheet, and I will change the things as you had requested.
Okay.
So that's easy enough. And there are a couple of issues with my spreadsheet calculations too that I will need to address. So I'll take care of that, and then we can just resend it out.
Okay.
And then I will put this on the schedule for right after the election. And then I will ask the CIP committee to get together after that meeting.
Well, I don't think they need to wait. I think they can start.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't think anything we're talking about with buildings is going to impact 2021.
The only thing
Well-
would be the request for the $10,000 for
Right, but like I said, I think even without a plan, the concrete plan, it's prudent to consider, just putting money into the account so that when we do have a plan, there's actually some money there to fund it. So,
Okay. All right.
okay. Get back to my agenda here. So that takes care of the action and discussion items. We're into department committee reports, and Chief Moore, you are up first this week.
All right. Well, we continue to stay busy. Our call volume is still 50 calls ahead of where it was last year. I'm starting into doing the budget work for 2021 and looking at where we're at with the budget right now. I do honestly right now foresee a little bit of a surplus again, but that's what happens when you have 4 months of no trainings, no meetings.
Yeah.
And that initial call dip where for the first month and a half, we really didn't do anything. And then the calls have really kind of exploded from there. So just trying to evaluate that, see what that looks like comparatively. Excuse me, we were granted our SHAPE award renewal from the Department of Labor. So all of that looks well as far as us maintaining compliance with all the inspections and requirements through the state. And we were able to, despite the pandemic, get over to the school for a couple of days to do a modified Fire Prevention Week presentation for them. That really went well. So that's all that I have.
Great.
All right.
Any questions for the chief? All right. Calvin, road commissioner report.
We've wrapped up ditching Deervale, Rangdale, box cutting and under drains and all the other construction work, culvert replacements, and we're working with Crooker. We're going ahead of them and prepping the areas for them to pave in some of that gravel. So we'll be doing that over the next couple of weeks so we can get our overlay and shims in. They dropped off a paving machine today at Deervale. We've got Crooker's finished paving last week, Brown Road and Grant Road. That pretty much wraps up the bond surface paving, except for Day Road. That we're not going to do until next year. So we just have some transition paving on those other roads and some shouldering to wrap those up for this year. Crews have been working on the town properties, getting acorns, leaves. The big windstorm we had there a week or so ago left a lot of stuff that we've had to clean up. We poured the reinforced concrete ballot box. We reinforced the slab with rebar, and we drilled holes into that, put anchor bolts in to secure it to the property.
Hold on, what ballot box?
The outside the town office.
I thought we said no to the ballot box.
I don't know. That's Ruth.
I thought the last time we had this conversation, you said that I could go ahead and get the ballot box as long as it didn't need to. It's all, so the whole thing will be paid from grants. So it will not cost the town anything. 80% will be paid by the state. The other 20% plus any of the stuff that Calvin used to put it in will be paid by the grants that we received, that Becky received.
Okay, Calvin, keep going.
So, so that's all complete. Crews hauling crushed stone, getting prepped for our winter gravel road sand mix that we'll be making. Looking at putting the winter sand bid out, sand out to bid sometime this next coming week. Where we've been getting it's gone up $1 a yard, so put that out to bid this year, and hoping we get some good numbers on that. Our new tandem axle plow truck has arrived. It's at Freightliner of Maine, going to Viking Surveys this week. They're going to start putting the plow package on it. I've been hounding him for the last 2 weeks to make sure we have all the stuff in here, you know, in the state of Maine from New York. And so I'm not chasing him like I did last year looking for a body that took forever to get made. So they're saying that they should have it done in December. So I just figure if I stay on them, I'll know I'll have a better chance of making that happen. So that's about all I got.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Calvin?
No.
Nope. Oh, okay. Let's see. Town administrator report. Ruth?
So most of my report we went over already. We've just been mostly busy with the election stuff. We have processed over 1,100 ballots as of last Thursday when we left the office. All of the applications that we had received in prior to receiving the ballots now have been mailed out. And we are having in-person voting at the office. And that's really what all of our time has been taken up with.
You're getting a steady stream of people coming in to vote in person now?
Yep, either vote in person or they can come in and request their ballot in person too. We do have the ballots in the office.
Okay. All right. Do we have, I know we have the our local municipal ballot on the website, but I had someone ask me the other day if we also had like the national and state ballots linked on our website.
I don't believe we do. We could link them. They're probably on the state website. Becky, you there? There she
Hang
is.
on. Yeah. Sorry, what was that?
So the ballots, the sample ballots for the federal and state elections,
Yes.
they're not available on our website right now.
I don't think so. I did just get them in on the 2nd because we had to use them to proofread the ballots before we were allowed to issue any. So I do have them. So I could send them to whoever on Thursday and we could get them up.
I imagine there's a link on the state website too that has them as well. We could just link to that.
Yeah, there could be. We can look at
Just
that.
use their link, yeah. So it might be a nice thing to do just so somebody can click and see all the ballots, you know, from one location.
Right. Right. And I'm hoping to get them all posted in the 3 locations early next week.
Okay. Okay. Was that it, Ruth, or anything else?
Yep, nope, that's it, unless you have any questions.
I did have one question, if I could, because I assume it's Ruth and I guess Becky. I couldn't remember what the outcome of that ballot box was. I was trying to refresh my memory, but in regards to that, does that mean somebody has to man that when the polls close? And do we have the staff to do that?
No, it has a lock.
Well, I guess like, how do we stop people from dropping in ballots after?
It lock. So at
time
8
lock?
o'clock, somebody will have to go to the town office and lock it.
Well, that's what I just asked.
Oh, sorry, sorry, Rich. Yeah, so we would have had to do that in any case, in case somebody dropped it off in any kind of manner over at the town hall. I did that. So in the July election, that's what I ended up doing. I went over to the town office. I was there until 8 o'clock p.m. And then I called Becky and I said, you know, there's no more ballots, so you can close the election.
Okay.
So that's what will happen again, Rich.
So the place, I think where you put the ballot in, that locks, so people can't
Yes.
put a ballot in after
Yes,
you lock it. Right.
right.
Okay.
Right.
But somebody physically has to be there to man it, to lock it at 8 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they need to be there at exactly 8 o'clock.
Right.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I think, and if there, I mean, this is like taking it to the extreme, but if there's a line of people at the box looking to drop their ballot in, you got to let them put it in and then you can lock it, right? Just
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be anybody there.
I don't either. This is going to be the year of weird stuff at the ballot box.
No, I was just wondering, like, hindsight's always 2020, but on something like that, I don't. This is this is an atypical year. I would think that ballot box would be outside of wherever the voting takes place, so people don't get confused, etc.
Well, ideally, on the day of election, ideally we get all the absentee ballots before the day of election. But if they do come back on the day of election, we will put a sign on the drop box asking them to drop it off at the school, but we will also check the drop box just in case. And I suppose, Becky, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I suppose we could lock the drop box on election day and require that they drop their ballots off at the school.
Yes, we can do that. We didn't have that option in July because of the mail slot right next to the door. It didn't have an outside locking mechanism. So we had to even though we put a sign above it asking people to bring them over to the AMVETS hall, we were still having to go by periodically and we were retrieving ballots out of it. So that is an option. We could lock that box the morning of when the polls open.
I think, or sometime during the day, I think, because correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember reading some of the state regulations about these boxes, is that the town clerk and only the town clerk is supposed to have a key and be able to lock and unlock that box. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
So the town clerk has it, and then anybody that she appoints as part of their duty. So as in Pam and Ruth are deputy clerks.
Okay.
So they are, and then they gave us more guidelines that they are asking that 2 people unload the box when you go out, and it's recommended that we keep a log. So we have a log. 2 of us go out, we retrieve it, we count how many ballots we retrieve, we initial it, date, time it, and everything. So we have a log of what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, moving on, if that's all for town administration. Is there anything on the consent agenda that any board member wants pulled out as a separate discussion? Seeing none, then I'm going to move that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Need a second on that from someone?
I'll second.
Mark seconds. All right. Let me know your vote when I call your name, please. If you want to accept the consent agenda as presented. Rich?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Kevin is a yes. Okay, upcoming meetings, Tuesday, October 27th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. And again, Tuesday, November 10th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. And obviously, November 3rd is election day, although we're actually kind of in election month now because absentee ballots are available. Or vote in person is also available at the town office during normal hours. All right, I'm going to move that we adjourn the meeting.
I guess I'll second that.
Rich going to second. All right, if you're in favor of adjournment, Rich,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. So we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Select board members, there's several things we need to sign, so please try to get in Thursday or Friday to sign things as a result of this meeting. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
You.
Hey, you still there?